This is the Barbados Today Afternoon News Update for Wednesday, November 11. Thank you for joining us. I am Marie-Claire Williams. We get started on a sad note. The Royal Barbados Police Force is in mourning today. Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of crime, Mark Thompson, has died. This follows a recent illness. The respected police detective leaves to mourn his wife and 2 children. In other news this afternoon, crime officials have revealed that the use of firearms in Barbados has reached a crisis stage. Senior Research Officer at the Criminal Justice and Planning Unit, Kim Ramsey, told a news conference that about 42% of homicides were committed using firearms for the period 2010 to 2014. Ramsey says that's despite the fact that Barbados has one of the lowest homicide rates in the Caribbean. While there has been a steady decline since 2010, officials expect figures for this year will increase for the first time in 5 years. In 2010, there were 32 homicides. However, there are reports that of 27 so far this year. A message from the police: if you see it, report it. Police are making a special appeal to the public to report crime, especially those involving illegal guns. This week alone, the island was slapped with a United States advisory warning Americans traveling here to be on alert in light of an increase in crime. Acting Assistant Superintendent of Police David Welch says it is critical for residents to report suspicious activity, particularly those involving the use of firearms and shooting in neighborhoods. He assured that the force was on top of the situation. Welch says lawmen have stepped up their presence in certain hotspots during the day and night, and they've been engaging residents, particularly youth and other at-risk groups. Political scientist Peter Wickham is describing as a bizarre suggestion recent indications that government has approached former Prime Minister Owen to head its Independent Advisory Council on the Economy. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair is yet to confirm that government has made overtures to the former leader, but Arthur told Barbados Today he has been approached. Wickham is questioning the motives behind the developments.
I'm appalled, quite frankly, that he would consider taking a post in a government that he so bitterly criticized. And I'm a bit shocked that after the Prime Minister made it clear that he had no need for eminent persons and that the eminence of his ministers was sufficient, that he would now essentially admit that what he said at that time was in fact not correct, and that there was actually a role for eminent persons beyond the reach of his cabinet, and that there was a need for Mr. Owen, who he so bitterly criticized in the last election. It's a bizarre turn of events politically, and I'm fascinated that either the Democratic Labour Party or alternatively Mr. Owen would consider such a thing. But I guess such is the nature of politics, and such is the nature of political bedfellows that will often be very, very convenient when there's a larger issue of the ego that is at stake.
The children of Clapham St. Michael community are leading an effort to change the eating habits of Barbadians by cooking healthy as the nation battles against non-communicable diseases. Under the guidance of NCD Ambassador Beverly John Toppin, last evening members of the Children's Community Health Club staged a cooking exhibition at the Clapham Community Center. They demonstrated to adults the healthy way to prepare foods.
What our aim is to do is to really, this is the pilot project, to work in low-income communities and educate the children in nutrition, agriculture, and pretty much that they would know how to love agriculture again and also eat better to help combat non-communicable diseases. And this year they looked at, the theme was Fight with Food to prevent non-communicable diseases. And we're looking to have, from this we're looking to have a regional conference where children will be making decisions to eat better to prevent non-communicable diseases. We focus on NTDs because last year we focused on the digestive system, so they had that done past. We wanted to show them how to make alternative recipes like ketchup, their own ketchup that were low in sodium, that they were able to know, well, I can make my own ketchup so I know how much salt or what have you instead of it. So it was really to get them to experiment, learn for themselves. So it was really, that's what today was really about. And every year we try to have, they learn during the course, they get the topic research, and then what we do is that they would open up to the community and special guests. They can transfer what they've learned to the community, their parents, etc.
In news from the region, there are concerns that crime may be beginning to affect the tourism industry, and the Tourism Minister, Lon Theophilus, says there is need for urgent steps to be taken to address the situation. We get more in this report from HTS News Force.
St. Lucia's tourism industry continues to be plagued with acts of violence against visitors. The most recent attack in July involved a 40-year-old Canadian man who was dragged and robbed of his personal belongings. Tourism Minister Lon Theophilus says extreme measures need to be taken to ensure the safety of the tourists.
It's about time that we as a nation take some serious form of responsibility. All right, these incidents are abhorrent, and I think there comes a point in time where we need to take some more drastic steps so as to ensure that not just the visitors to our shores, but our citizens themselves can enjoy the ordinary comforts of life within our cities.
The vendors in the Castries market are also calling on the authorities to do something about what they claim are daily attacks on visitors, as this affects business. However, Theophilus says the vendors need to work on improving the variety of products offered to attract more tourists to the island.
And finally, more than 60 leaders from Africa and Europe are meeting in Malta over the next 2 days to discuss the mass movement of people. Europe is likely to offer African countries billions of euros in assistance to help with the migrant crisis. The talks follow the Mediterranean tragedy in April, in which hundreds of migrants lost their lives. More in this BBC report.
A Maltese burial for those that died in the biggest single boat disaster since the migrant crisis began. These scenes have become too familiar, but back in April, after more than 800 migrants died when a fishing boat capsized in the Mediterranean, it led to the first of many emergency EU summits on migration. Another two-day summit begins today in Malta, but for the first time will bring together European and African leaders as they try to tackle the root causes of why so many people continue to leave.
These realities, alongside the deteriorating security situation in many Middle Eastern and African countries, are testing Europe's internal solidarity today. Facing them will challenge and change the European Union as fundamentally as any treaty amendment, national election or monetary crisis.
Though the migrant route into Europe has shifted, with more than 600,000 people this year risking the shorter stretch of the Mediterranean from Turkey to Greece, there are thousands attempting the longer route each month, with British naval ships being part of the EU border force trying to stop the operations of the smugglers. European delegations here say the focus is on getting African governments to commit to taking back failed asylum seekers and economic migrants. An EU trust fund worth £1.7 billion has been set up with contributions from 24 European countries, including Britain, in an attempt to help stabilise some of the least developed nations. But it will be hard bargaining. Each African government will come with their own negotiation strategies and keen to secure long-term European aid commitments if they're to play their role in a crisis that shows no sign of slowing.
And that's the news. There's more on our website www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, and like us on Facebook. You can catch us on Izumi Media in bus terminals or screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. You can also tune in to Channel 101 on Flow TV or Mix 96.9 FM for more news and sports. I am Claire Williams. Good afternoon.